Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 213 of the Compassionate Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
Here's what's coming up in today's show. In this week's Y-Files, we're continuing our journey into amazing non-human animals, and we're going to tell you about the mourning gecko.
Now, that's the Mourning gecko, not the Morning gecko.
That is correct.
So he's sad, not sunny.
Well, yeah, that's his name.
Yes, that's his name.
Her name.
Oh, her name?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Even better. In our Noteworthy segment, 30 long-term vegans were asked what they eat in a typical week, and their answers might surprise you.
They might, and they might not. And in our main topic, how can we be more effective in our outreach as vegans? And we're going to be discussing misanthropy and effective vegan outreach. I think we all could use a little refresher.
Oh, sure.
On that. So
absolutely.
That's what we're going to be talking about in our main topic. But before we get into that, we do have an update on the Marineland belugas. You might remember we've done a couple of stories about the Marineland beluga. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying that. The Marineland beluga whales. Well, we have a little bit of an update. It's not great news.
No.
But it could be worse.
Advocates fear that the Marineland whales and dolphins may wind up in shows or being bred if they are exported to the U.S. Canadian Fisheries Minister Joanne Thompson says Marineland's plan to ship 34 marine mammals to aquariums in the U.S. is solid, suggesting relocating belugas and dolphins from the shuttered Niagara Falls, Ontario amusement park is looking increasingly likely. But news earlier this week that Ottawa has given Marineland conditional approval to relocate the animals isn't sitting well with animal advocates, who worry they could be used for breeding and performances in their potential new homes. The relocation efforts include sending 30 belugas and 4 dolphins to accredited sites that have high standards for animal welfare, Thompson told CBC News on Tuesday in Ottawa. Aquariums considering acquiring the animals are Shed Aquarium in Chicago, Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta, Mystic Aquarium in Connecticut, and a SeaWorld location. All 4 are recognized by accredited zoos and aquariums.
We know that accreditation doesn't really mean a whole lot. It means they provide for the minimum amount of care for the animals. And SeaWorld, really? SeaWorld?
Yeah.
That we don't want to see that happen.
Yes, so while these locations may be able to provide for the basic needs of these animals, they can certainly not provide the kind of space, the kind of life, and even the kind of food that the animals really, really need to thrive.
Yeah.
Thompson cited 2 conditions that Marineland must meet in its efforts to get export approval. One is that the health of the belugas and dolphins is assessed by accredited veterinarians and also the transportation plan, she said. And then, obviously, once the belugas move, part of the accreditation of these sites is that those health supports are available. Once the conditions are satisfied, I think this is a solid plan to allow the animals to live their life in much more healthy conditions. 20 Marineland whales, 1 orca, and 19 belugas have died since 2019, according to the Canadian press, based on internal records and official statements. The park closed to the public in late 2024 after years of controversy, with animal rights activists and others vehemently opposed to the living conditions and performances to which its animals were subject. A federal law passed in 2019 bans keeping whales, dolphins, and porpoises for breeding or entertainment. Exporting these animals requires a special federal permit, something the fisheries minister can hand out if the animals are being used for scientific research or if keeping them in captivity elsewhere is found to be in their best interest. Marineland's vast menagerie also includes several seals and sea lions, bears, and deer. As Ottawa looks into whether to grant Marineland export permits, Camille Labchuk, executive director of Animal Justice, says it's crucial they come with stipulations that the mammals not be allowed to perform or to be bred in their new homes. The best option for the whales is to go to a sanctuary rather than another exploitative aquarium where they can be used for entertainment, Labchuk told CBC News recently. The second best option would probably be to go to U.S. aquariums, as long as there are strong conditions on any export permits that accord with Canadian law. There had been hopes the belugas would end up at a proposed whale sanctuary in Wine Harbor, Nova Scotia, but construction has yet to begin, and the project, announced 5 years ago, still requires several permits and fundraising to cover the $20 million cost.
We've heard like conflicting stories about this Nova Scotia location. Like, I know we had an article earlier where we were doing an update that said that they were almost ready. Now, this article is saying they hadn't even started construction.
Right.
So there is some weird information coming out about that proposed sanctuary. But I'll tell you what, I think the best thing is, like this article says, if they have to go somewhere and they can't go to sanctuary, an aquarium, I guess, would be their best bet. Someplace where they're not performing.
Where they're not being required to perform.
And
absolutely.
Not being bred.
That's right.
In captivity.
Yeah, SeaWorld should not be on that list.
No, SeaWorld definitely should not be on that list. These animals have paid their dues.
And then some.
Yeah. So we just wanted to give you a little update. And like I said, I guess it's kind of so-so news.
Yeah.
It's better than the alternative, which was euthanizing them. So
yes.
We're happy to see that's not happening.
Indeed.
Yeah. Now let's move on to this week's Why Files. We're on a roll with interesting non-human animals.
I love that.
And I want to keep it going.
Okay, let's keep it going.
Because I like learning about non-human animals
Yeah.
that I don't really know anything about. So we're talking about, and funny enough, this article comes from the Georgia Aquarium.
Oh, interesting.
Which is one of the proposed sites for the belugas. Mm-hmm. And this article is about mourning geckos. And I don't know if you're familiar with the mourning gecko. I was not. But what is amazing about the mourning gecko is how they breed. There are no breeding males in the mourning gecko world, okay? They're parthenogenetic.
There you go.
They're all female species that reproduce without males. So females produce clutches of 2 eggs throughout the year. And the eggs are deposited in communal nesting sites such as crevices, holes, like under leaves and logs, and wooded areas where you find geckos and newts and lizards of that variety.
Sure.
The eggs hatch between 65 and 103 days, and they might produce male offspring, but the males are always infertile.
That is just crazy.
Right? So the resulting offspring is a near identical clone of the mother. So they're basically just reproducing their own DNA. So mother's genes are able to recombine and produce some genetic variations in offspring, which is important for adaptation. They also take into account that you can't just continually clone yourself, or there's
bound to be genetic defects.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So it accounts for that. Their reproductive system accounts for that and makes these variations in their DNA.
Wow.
Isn't that fascinating?
That is really cool.
Right?
Now, it turns out also that the mourning gecko is an invasive species.
That's what they say. I don't like that term, invasive species, because the reason I don't like it is because 9 times out of 10, when a species is called invasive, it's because humans have introduced that species for some reason or another, either accidentally or on purpose. Like sometimes they introduce species to control other what they call invasive species, and that never works out well.
And you also have to take into consideration, like, are they really invasive when it's really us that's living on their turf?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I really don't like that term.
Okay. Well, but they are native to southeastern Asia and can now be found in North, Central, and South America, Australia, and across many of the Pacific Islands. They're really, really small.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Maximum size of 2.7 to 3.7 inches.
Yeah, so they're very tiny.
They are teeny.
Yeah. And you're going to like find them where you find geckos and newts and animals of this variety, like under things or in leaf piles and, underbrush in those areas. And they're quick, I'm sure. I know.
Oh, they must be.
The geckos, when I spent some time on Kauai, the geckos are really fast. I know because I tried to catch one. I mean, if you live in a place like Kauai, unless you are like one of these people that sprays for everything, you're going to have geckos in your house.
Sure.
They come in your house. And the only problem is they kind of poo. They do poo on things like your lampshades and stuff. But they also chirp in the middle of the night like birds.
Yeah.
So you have to get used to that. But they are so quick.
Yeah.
You cannot catch them.
That's
and
awesome.
they're adorable.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They are super cute. And the picture on the website of this gecko is really beautiful.
Yeah, I find it amazing that, and they're not the only species that reproduces this way. It's just, I've never heard of this gecko and never knew that they were capable of doing that. It's awesome.
Yes.
Now,
fortunately, unlike a couple of the other species that we have looked into in the past few weeks, the mourning gecko is of least concern on conservation watch lists. So we're not worried about them.
I guess that's a good
They're
thing.
doing just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because, they're women.
Right?
They're fine. You
Oh
have
my God.
a group of self-sustaining women, right? With the occasional infertile man in the group.
I love that. You know what? I didn't even make that connection until you said it. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, there are other species that reproduce this way, but I had never really delved into how
parthenogenetic.
Yeah, I don't know how parthenogenesis works,
Yeah.
I never really looked into it. It's amazing that that the mothers are actually just cloning themselves. They lay these eggs that are just little clones of themselves.
That is pretty cool.
Anywho, I thought that was, I don't know. Like I said, I'm amazed.
I'm also very interested in the fact that they use head bobbing to communicate.
Yeah.
Bob their head.
Yeah. I've seen other geckos do that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just bob their head.
Yeah. They'll just like hang onto the wall and they do this
So it's like this kind of jam.
yeah, they do this little
Just
funky
a little rock
head
out.
bob.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're
Very
so
nice.
cute.
Super cute.
So cute. So that was this week's Why Files.
All right. I am all kinds of into this gecko now.
Yeah. I mean, we're learning things.
Always.
We're learning things, and then in turn, you listening get to learn things. Now, whether or not you're enjoying learning about the geckos,
Who knows?
but I enjoy learning about it, and I enjoy sharing what I've learned. So there you go.
And there we have it.
Let's move on to our noteworthy segment.
This is coming to us from Veg Out magazine, author Jordan Cooper. Jordan asked 30 people who've been vegan for more than 10 years what they actually eat in a typical week. And apparently the answers were shockingly boring.
I think that's so hysterical. So boring.
It turns out that the secret to long-term veganism isn't elaborate Buddha bowls or Instagram-worthy smoothies. It's embracing the beautiful in the mundane. I went into this expecting variety. Maybe some wild fermentation projects, perhaps a rotation of globally inspired dishes that would make me feel inadequate about my own cooking. What I got instead was a masterclass in the power of boring.
Right?
Over the past month, and this is of course the author, not me,
Yes.
reached out to 30 vegans who've maintained this lifestyle for a decade or more. I asked them one simple question. What do you actually eat in a typical week? Not your dinner party menu, not your special occasion meals, your real, unglamorous Tuesday night after work food. The responses revealed something that behavioral science has been telling us for years. Habit formation thrives on simplicity and repetition. And these long-term vegans have figured that out, whether they realize it or not.
And you know why I chose this article is because so many like newer vegans, I think, are a little bit afraid because they think that they have to make these elaborate meals. And here are 30 vegans who have been vegan for a decade or more telling you it's not the elaborate meal you're looking for.
Right.
Right?
Yep. First off, we want to consider the fact that the rotation is real. almost everyone I talked to had what I started calling a core 5. These are 5 to 7 meals they make on autopilot, week after week with minor variations. We're talking pasta with marinara, rice and beans, stir-fried vegetables over noodles, veggie burgers, big salads with whatever's in the fridge.
That is our menu right there.
Right there. Yes,
That is
absolutely.
almost exactly what we eat.
That's right. Now, I mean, it might be stir-fried vegetables over rice instead of over noodles.
Right.
You know, but yeah, that's essentially, I mean, we don't do veggie burgers all that often, but
No, but we did try the Dr. Prager's
cauliflower burgers.
and they were pretty
they
good.
were pretty good. Yeah, they were pretty good. One respondent, a 52-year-old teacher from Ohio who's been vegan for 14 years, put it perfectly. I eat the same breakfast every single day. Oatmeal with banana and peanut butter. It's not exciting, but I never have to think about it. That lack of decision fatigue, it's not laziness, it's strategy.
This way you can get yourself out the door. You know
Yeah.
what you're going to make. You're not, if you need breakfast, you're not, sitting there with the refrigerator open. What am I going to have?
Right.
What am I going to have?
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's great. I have to get into oatmeal more, I want to,
Okay.
but there's something that keeps me from doing it. And I don't know why.
Interesting.
I have a very large jar full of
Organic oats.
Organic oats.
Yep.
So it would be a really easy fix and a good way for me personally to get more fruit in my diet
Yeah.
because I'm, aside from apples and bananas, I'm not a huge fruit person. So it would be a good way to incorporate, maybe some frozen berries or, things like that.
Whereas me, I'm just waiting for fruit season.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You're a big fruit.
I am in the spring and summer. I sure am. Next thing is that batch cooking is the unsung hero.
We've talked about this, right?
We have.
Yeah.
About 2/3 of the people I surveyed mentioned some form of batch cooking. Sunday meal prep, a big pot of soup that lasts 4 days, a container of cooked grains in the fridge at all times. This isn't meal prep content creator stuff with 17 matching containers. It's more like make a lot of one thing, then eat it till it's gone.
Yeah, that's what I have said always, right? The meal prep does not have to be take a Sunday afternoon and do what she's talking about, with all of your matched, with all of your matched containers,
Right.
Making these perfectly, similar meals. It's just when you're cooking things, make a little extra. When you cook grains, make a little extra. When you cook, when you cut up vegetables, cut up a little extra so that you have them on the ready. And it doesn't seem so daunting when you're like, what am I going to cook for supper?
Right. And the psychology here makes sense. When you're tired and hungry, you reach for what's easy. If what's easy is already vegan and already made, you don't have to rely on willpower. You just eat the lentil soup because it's there and it's warm and you're hungry. And let me say, lentil soup sounds really good right now.
Yeah, we should make some lentil soup.
I think we should. Next thing to remember is that nobody's making cashew cheese on a Wednesday.
I'm sure I've made cashew cheese on a Wednesday.
Yes, but you're retired. For you, Wednesday is not Wednesday.
I know
Wednesday is just a repetition of Saturday.
Yeah, I know what she's getting at here.
Yes.
It's not the type of thing you do on a typical work night.
Yes. Here's what surprised me most. Almost none of these long-term vegans regularly make the elaborate recipes that dominate vegan cookbooks and food blogs. The homemade seitan, the 3-hour cashew cheese, the dehydrated crackers. Those are weekend projects at best and special occasion food at most. Daily eating looks more like toast with avocado, hummus wraps, frozen veggie burgers, canned beans heated up with spices. One person described their go-to dinner as whatever vegetables are about to go bad, roasted with olive oil and garlic, and served over rice. That's not a recipe. That's just feeding yourself.
We've had that exact recipe many times.
Absolutely, many, many times.
And just to pause for a second, she was talking about people aren't making like homemade seitan during the week. But that reminded me that my brother-in-law, Sam's brother, got me for Christmas a meat slicer. He said, you should have known I was going to get you. We all do like wish list things. And he's like, you should have known I was going to get you the meat slicer because why would a vegan put a meat slicer on their wish list? And it's because I want to make seitan and then, slice it real thinly to make our own like tofurkey and stuff like that. and I've yet to try it, but I'm excited to.
Yeah, you really need to, because I got you the actual like meat maker or
it's called like a ham press.
Yes, exactly. So I actually got you that for your birthday last year.
I got to get on it.
And you really do, because the longer you let things wait, the less likely you are to do them at all.
It's true. And I think a lot of people are like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Anywho, sorry, I digressed.
No worries. Now let's move on to snacks.
Oh, yeah. Let's move on to snacks.
The snack game is strong, but simple. When I asked about snacks, I expected to hear about energy balls and homemade granola bars. Instead, I got a lot of fruit, nuts, crackers with peanut butter, and the occasional handful of chips. Several people mentioned keeping cut vegetables in the fridge, but just as many admitted they buy baby carrots because they're already cut. There's no shame in convenience here. These are people who've been doing this for over a decade. They've learned that perfection is the enemy of consistency. A store-bought hummus container has kept more people vegan than any elaborate recipe ever could.
That is so true.
It's so true. I mean, because we could make hummus.
Yeah, we could.
Easily. But
we could.
My favorite hummus is Ithaca lemon dill hummus.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculously good.
It is ridiculously good.
Yeah.
And I keep saying I'm going to try and match it, but I need like a container of it so that I can keep tasting and try to get it to match. Put it on the list.
Yep. Exactly. And so that's what happens. Oh, boo, you're out of hummus. Put it on the list. Yeah.
But I know right before my mother died and I was in the hospital with her, and it was like there was COVID protocols. So I was the only one allowed in. It was terrible. Again, I digress. But I lived on packaged hummus, tortillas, and vegan cheese while I was in her.
That sounds about right for you when I'm not in the picture.
When I was in her hospital room, that's what I ate every day.
Eating out is rarely complicated. Most respondents said they eat out maybe once or twice a week. And that to me sounds like a lot. We're maybe once a month, if that.
I don't know if it's because we really just don't have very many places we can go here.
Yeah, I'm sure that if there was a good vegan or vegan-friendly restaurant in the immediate vicinity, I'm sure we would probably go out more often than we do. We
probably would. Before we were vegan, many, many years ago, every Friday we used to go to our favorite Mexican place. So I think if we had a place like that offered vegan food, we might eat out more.
We might.
We don't eat out unless we're going somewhere.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really don't. Their strategies are remarkably similar. Find a few reliable restaurants, order the same things, don't stress about it. Thai food with tofu, Indian vegetable dishes, Mexican places where you can swap meat for beans. The fancier vegan restaurants, those are for birthdays and date nights. Research on dietary adherence consistently shows that flexibility predicts long-term success. These veterans aren't rigid about finding the perfect vegan meal every time they leave the house. They're practical. Sometimes dinner is a veggie sub from a chain restaurant. Life goes on.
Yeah, in a pinch, you could go to Subway.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a huge fan of Subway.
Me either.
But you can just get a bunch of veggies on a sub. And they do also have this...
a veggie patty.
It's kind of like a veggie burger in patty form. And it used to have egg in it.
And it doesn't anymore.
It does not anymore.
Yeah.
So you can always get that.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think they yet offer vegan cheese, though.
They don't. No cheese. No cheese, no mayo.
I was actually thinking the other day about, I'm kind of hungry and I still have another 4 hours to go, in terms of being at work.
Yeah.
What could I do? And I was like, ooh, Subway. And I was like, I would do that if they had a vegan cheese that you could then like run through the toaster and then put all of the veg on it.
Yeah, I've never been a huge
that would
fan.
Be okay, but
because Subway's bread tastes so fake to me.
It does. You're not wrong.
It's just so laden with chemicals.
Yeah.
So, but anywho.
Anyway, it seems the real secret is permission to be boring. What struck me most about these conversations was the complete absence of guilt about repetition. Nobody apologized for eating the same breakfast for 3 years straight. Nobody felt like they should be doing more, cooking fancier, or exploring new cuisines every week. They've given themselves permission to be boring, and that permission is freedom. When eating well doesn't require creativity or effort every single day, it becomes sustainable. It becomes just what you do. It's not a performance or a project.
Yeah.
So if you're new to veganism or struggling to make it stick, this might be the most useful thing I can tell you. Stop trying to be interesting. Find your core 5 meals. Make them easy. Make them things you actually like, not things you think you should like.
Yeah.
Repeat until they become automatic. The vegans who've been doing this for a decade aren't succeeding because they have more willpower or better recipes or stronger ethics. They're succeeding because they've built systems that don't require constant effort. They've made boring work for them. And honestly, after talking to all of them, I've started eating oatmeal every morning too. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice article. I like that.
Yeah, it is. And that is something just to bear in mind, even if you're not a new vegan. If you feel like you're struggling, especially in today's world, with the energy to make meals every day, if you're charged with making meals in your household, then yeah, keep it simple, keep it simple, and don't worry if you're repeating meals or if you're eating the same thing, multiple days in a row. Like when I make soup, I can't make a small amount of soup.
Oh, no.
So we'll have soup for 3 days.
I was gonna say, why would you want to? Because then I get to take soup for lunch.
Right.
As when I'm going to work. So that's wonderful. I love it when after we finish dinner, Christine says, oh, there's more if you want it. And then my question is usually, is it enough for lunch tomorrow?
Yeah.
So I can just have more of whatever yummy thing we just had for dinner.
Yeah.
Be it tacos or a burrito or soup or pasta or rice and beans or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That it just becomes tomorrow's lunch.
Yeah, especially when it's cold like it is now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
It was like 5 this morning.
It was 5 this morning.
It was so cold.
Yeah, it was 5 this morning. I'm sorry, Mama Nature. I love you, but that's a little extreme.
It's been so cold. We've been throwing apples out for the rabbits.
Yeah.
And anybody else that wants them, frankly. And I'm starting to worry because this morning, one of the rabbits was like at our doorstep waiting for his apples. And recently somebody was talking about, it was a friend of mine talking about how she feeds crows and that the crows will bring you trinkets,
Yes.
shiny things,
Yes.
bolts that they find on the road or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, the rabbits only bring me poo. They're
Yes.
just rabbit poo everywhere out there. So anyway, I know some of our listeners are kind of animal experts. Mm-hmm. If you know if it's bad for us to be throwing out the apples
and carrots,
and when I'm cooking, if it's the end of a broccoli stalk or something, mm-hmm. I'll throw it, although they don't seem to like broccoli very much. Is it bad for us to be doing that? Are they going to start
depending on us?
Depending on us? It really does seem to be only 1 or maybe 2 bunnies.
Yeah.
That are coming around.
But we are so deep in snow right now that there's no way that they're getting food sources from the ground.
I see them digging through the snow.
Mm-hmm.
They do get down to, leafy things.
Okay.
I mean, and they manage to survive without us,
Oh, well, that's true.
In the past.
No argument.
So I don't know if it's a good thing that we're throwing those apples out for them. It is kind of sweet to watch them.
It really is.
But when the rabbit was at our door waiting for the apples this morning, I'm like, maybe this isn't a great thing to be doing. But now that we have it, I feel like we have to continue because now this rabbit is depending on us. So, oh dear. It's time for our main topic. So this week's main topic is effective vegan outreach. And this was inspired by a recent video put out by Jake Conroy, aka the Cranky Vegan, on YouTube. And his video is titled Misanthropic Vegans Are Ruining Animal Rights. And we'll link to it in the show notes of this episode, but that kind of got me thinking. So I created kind of a companion guide to go with his video that we're going to talk about.
Great.
Okay. So we're talking about things that we as vegans think about often, right? Effective activism. Specifically, how can we be more effective? What strategies actually work? And where do things like vegan outreach and vegan misanthropy clash? So let's get into it. Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's start with pressure campaigning. So pressure campaigns focus on the supply side of animal exploitation. So pressure campaigning consists of like policy change, closing down facilities, disrupting industries, or legislative wins, right? When done right, they can also include outreach. So they can affect demand too, but not as much as they affect the supply side. Now, what happens when people are misanthropic as vegan activists, right?
So the basic definition of misanthropy is a hatred of humankind.
Right.
And I really do feel that this is often a misperception of vegans, that vegans care about animals so much that they essentially disrespect or even go so far as to hate humans because they see human beings as being the cause of animal suffering.
Yes, but I have seen it at least in the online vegan community. You'll see those attitudes, and I don't know if a lot of it might be performative, but I mean, you can understand how some people get that way, or some, especially online, might react like that when you consider the scale of animal suffering, the brutality of the industrial systems, and the indifference of everyone who's not vegan, right?
Yes, it's not that a certain degree of anger or frustration, at the system as it is currently set up, and the seeming indifference of the vast majority of human beings on the planet. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there is a problem. When you're a part of a tiny minority,
Which we are.
I mean, approximately 1% globally.
Yeah.
There are some countries that are doing better than others where their vegan population might be as high as 4 or 5%.
Right.
But globally, it's approximately a 1% minority. So there's 1% of us in the world that are actively not participating in the harm that is caused by the animal industrial complex.
Right.
Everyone else can start to feel like the enemy. Kind of a, well, if you're not with us, you're against us.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
Right. And that's what Jake says. He says that's where your strategy is going to break down, when you start feeling like that, or when you start responding like that
in that way
to people.
Yes.
Yeah. So we generally advocate in a few ways, right? So we fight animal exploitation by targeting the supply side through pressure campaigning and industry disruptions and policy and legal change. Now, the demand side is where outreach really comes into the picture, right?
Absolutely.
Convincing individuals to go vegan. And most of the movement leans heavily towards the demand side. And this is where misanthropic activism is most visible.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So 2 styles of vegan outreach. Okay. Probably my favorite is strategic outreach. Yeah, it meets people where they are, socially, politically, and economically. So, for example, my group of 6 colleagues, my 6 closest colleagues at work, in our midst, we have 1 vegan, 1 vegetarian, 2 people who are gluten-free, and 2 omnivores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what I find interesting is that, let's say we're going out for a collegial lunch.
Okay.
And I've told everybody, you know what? I'm going to get lunch today. Frequently, what will happen is they will choose, at the very least, vegetarian options out of not wanting me to pay for animal products.
Right.
Which is really interesting. And I think that's great. Would I require that of them? No, of course not.
Yeah.
No, please, by all means, order whatever you're going to have.
Yeah.
But it's about understanding the people around you and allowing them to understand who you are as well. There has to be a give and take.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not about giving somebody a pass, but understanding who you're dealing with,
That's right. Absolutely. And that also can then, bring up questions, about, oh, okay, well, you've been doing this for, 7 or 8 years now. And, how has that been? And how has that impacted
Right.
your life and your health and all of those kinds of things? So
Yeah.
that's pretty great. And also it's focused on long-term change.
Right.
Yeah. Not about the heat of the moment, make a declaration that you're done with animal cruelty and you're done eating animals. Focus on the long term, because it's the long term that is important.
Absolutely. That's what we're going for. People going vegan and staying vegan. The other way people advocate is by holding people accountable, right?
Yes.
And that usually focuses on guilt or shame, and it's frequently ego-based.
Right.
There are a lot of, I guess I would say, vegan influencer activists that are very hold people accountable kind of outreaching, right?
Sure. That it's more about look at me.
Exactly.
Look at the great thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
If you're not doing this, then you are therefore less than, and you should feel guilty and you should feel shame.
Right.
And that can work in the short term.
Right.
That being said, I do not advocate for this type of outreach in any way, shape, or form.
No.
I don't think anyone should be made to feel guilt or shame about the choices that they make.
It's not effective.
It's not.
I think it's been proven in any kind of social change. Guilting and shaming people into changing does not work. And like you said, it might work in the short term.
Yeah.
But they might just be like saying it to shut you up. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's like Christine can guilt me into going to the gym, but it never works in the long term.
Yeah.
You know, if we're not starting the habit from a positive place,
Exactly.
where we're both on the same page, we both want to accomplish something, and it's not necessarily, it's not like, oh, we're going to lose X amount of weight, or we're going to lift X amount of weight, or
Right.
that it's not like a competitive or a measured thing. It's just, we want to be healthier. We want to be more active.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing.
Exactly.
That's when it tends to stick.
Yeah.
At least for a few months.
Right. So the big problem with that kind of outreach, like we said, is it's short term. And we don't know, you can't tell the long-term results of outreach like that, right? So someone says they went vegan. Are they still vegan 2 years later? Or, like I said, did they just want to end the uncomfortable conversation they were having with you because you were guilting them?
Right. Or were they vegan for a little while and then drifted away from it, or
Right.
relapsed into omnivorism, that
Right.
kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of performative, that type of outreach.
So there are some outreach functions, and I think Christine would agree that this is what she's talking about when she's talking about certain vegan influencers. It's less focused on making change, and it's used more as a kind of an emotional release.
Yeah.
And you can understand to a certain degree where that might be coming from, because I'm sure plenty of vegans feel unseen or misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all said one time or maybe more, why can't other people just see what's going on and make the change?
Sure. And with that in mind, the idea of expressing anger at other people's lack of awareness or willful blindness or whatever it is, it can feel really validating.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get that anger out. And it can also create in the, I'm going to say perpetrator, I don't know that's exactly the word that I want,
Right.
but it can create a sense of moral superiority. Again, that whole, look at the great thing I'm doing. I am a morally superior person. You are seriously morally deficient if you're not doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Yes. Okay. And it can boost the activist's self-esteem, especially when there's positive response to it.
Sure.
But when it comes down to it, it doesn't produce much in terms of measurable change.
Right.
It might be beneficial to the vegan themselves, but
Right.
is probably not doing much for others. And that's what outreach is all about.
Right.
Others, hopefully.
Right. So that's the ego-driven activism.
Yes.
Do guilt and shame work? I think we already said it does not. Research suggests that guilt and shame can produce short-term behavioral changes, but poor long-term retention. We don't want temporary vegans. We want lifelong commitment,
That's right.
right?
Veganuary friends, we love you. We absolutely love you.
Sure.
Fantastic. But consider making it a full-time thing.
Right. And Faunalytics, I don't know if you're familiar with Faunalytics, they put together all kinds of data on this stuff. And a major study surveying nearly 12,000 vegans and vegetarians found that 84% of them stop within a year. So
Wow.
So for every 10 people convinced, 8 quit. And that's not momentum. That's a treadmill, right?
Yes. And actually, a treadmill with very little forward motion.
Right.
Over time, that could actually be a net loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and one major reason why those people leave can be the vegan community itself, because they'll feel unwelcome or judged or out of place because of all this ego-driven outreach, right? Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with Gary Yourofsky, who kind of touts himself as like the best vegan advocate on the planet and says that he has convinced more people to go vegan than anybody else has.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard Gary Yourofsky speak recently.
I haven't.
But he should no longer be speaking for the vegan community. There are many videos about it out there. He is the poster child for misanthropy. He, in an interview, basically said, screw people. Screw the LGBTQ community.
Oh, nice.
Screw Palestinians.
Oh.
Screw all of these other social justice issues that vegans are standing up for, because it hurts animals to stand up for those humans.
Oh, no.
And he said it really, really angrily. Like, this guy is convinced that people are the problem. I can understand why somebody gets that way, but he needs to step away. He shouldn't be out there, on one hand, calling himself the best vegan advocate out there, and then on the other hand, saying things like that.
No, definitely not.
And there are people who are convinced that he's like, he kind of has almost a cult following, this guy. And people are convinced that that's the way, And again, not if you want to get other people vegan. Sure, that might feel good for you if you're already vegan, listening to him, rant and rave about how social justice issues about human beings are taking away important attention that should be being paid to animal advocacy and the suffering of animals, right?
Sure. See, now, here's my thoughts on that. For him to say that people are the problem, well, of course. He's spot on.
Right.
Humans have created every single one of these social justice issues. They don't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
We've created them.
People are the problem.
But we're also
corporations
the solution.
Are the problem.
But we're also the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah. It can't be fixed in a vacuum. And I am a stalwart believer in intersectional social justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That to be an effective advocate for one social justice movement is to be an effective advocate for all social justice movements. Because in every single situation, all we're talking about is a power differential. It's just a matter of differences in who has the power and who is ostracized, alienated, or disempowered.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the fact that Gary Yourofsky can go in a public forum and say that, blatantly say, F the civil rights movement, F the LGBTQ movement, F the Free Palestine movement. He needs to step away.
Yeah.
The misanthropy has taken over his brain.
Yes.
It's not healthy for him, and he's disenfranchising people who might be considering going vegan.
Certainly. I mean, I'm a long-term vegan. I'm an even longer-term feminist, anti-racist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would not want to be part of a community that says, screw the LGBTQ community, screw Palestinians, screw Black people, screw immigrants, screw anybody. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
That helps no one, including the animals in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I would not be interested in that. So yes, I agree with you.
All it does is creates clickbaity stuff for people to watch.
That's right.
And not non-vegans. Non-vegans aren't watching Jerry Urofsky. Or if they are, they're watching to make fun of him.
Yeah.
And say, see, this is why people hate vegans so much.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. If you want to bring people into the fold and keep them there, they need a sense of belonging. They need to know that there is support available to them. They need to feel like they are part of a community.
Exactly.
And that's true in the case of... We can even get away from social justice for just a second. That's just humanity.
Exactly. And that's kind of the problem with humanity today is that we've lost our sense of community in so many ways.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody joins a movement where they feel hated. You know, if people feel attacked or dehumanized or unwelcome, they won't stay.
Yep.
Even if they agree with you morally, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Retention in the vegan movement requires that people feel a sense of belonging, that they feel, like you said, supported, and that they feel that they have a close community that they can turn to. So Jake went on to say that he doesn't mean to sound like he's policing your feelings. If you're angry about what people are doing to animals, be angry.
Sure.
Just don't make a video of yourself, ranting and raving about how it's the people's fault. We all know that.
Yes, we do all know that.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely fine to express anger, but try to do it in a way that is productive.
Yeah.
That's not just ranting and raving and yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
No, let's, try to do all of that. And I have no objection to people yelling and screaming. That's fine. Yell and scream. Go ahead. But make it have a point.
It's got to be constructive.
Mean something. It's got to be constructive, or it's got to be productive.
It's got to be. And Jake said a tiny movement that openly wishes death on the rest of humanity will remain tiny and powerless.
As it should.
Yeah. So the bottom line is we should platform and we should emulate what works, what builds lasting change, and what grows our movement, not just what feels emotionally satisfying, right? Because if we fail strategically, the movement loses, and more importantly, the animals lose.
Yes.
So we just have to keep fighting.
But fight smart.
But we have to fight smart for sure.
That's right.
Yeah. So I hope that was helpful. It's always good to revisit effective ways to reach people.
Absolutely.
In the vegan movement.
I still think just to put out a different example for a second.
Okay.
My favorite version of activism, and this is something that I aspire to do in my retirement, if I can get permission to do it, is that of my hero, Earthling Ed.
Okay.
Yes. Who goes on to college campuses and just sets up a table and, offers anything, $5 if you come talk to me for a minute, or, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And just kind of applies a Socratic method to get to why people feel like they can't be vegan, or why they wouldn't consider it, or because it's not about shaming anyone.
Right.
It's not about telling them they're doing something wrong. It's about increasing awareness of the issues themselves and making people think.
Right. And arm them with knowledge.
Arm them with knowledge.
Yeah.
Because the more people know, the more likely they are to change behaviors.
Yeah. Ed Winters is really good at asking people questions and then breaking down how their answers, not that they're wrong, but how their answers are justification that can be eliminated.
Yes.
And how it can be eliminated.
Yeah, and he does it so skillfully.
Yeah.
And in such a chill, conversational tone of voice.
Yeah.
He is never antagonistic.
No, he's respectful.
Very respectful,
Yeah.
friendly, accessible, absolutely wonderful. So that is what I aspire to in my later life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time now for our favorite portion of the show.
Must be listener shout out time.
It's listener shout out.
Just want to give a shout out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's shout out goes out to Brandy, who is a new YouTube subscriber. Brandy goes by @BrandyWine, that's WIJN, on YouTube. So if you're that Brandy, send us your t-shirt size and address so we can send you a CNC swag bag.
Yeah, and you can text us using the link in our show notes. You can email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com or simply DM us on Instagram or Facebook.
And for the rest of you out there, if you would like a listener shout out, you can email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com, DM us on Instagram or Facebook, or use the link in our show notes to send a text. Are you okay?
Yeah. I don't know why I found that so funny.
I don't either.
It's time to wrap this baby up. But before we go, be sure to subscribe to the show, please. And leave a review on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube. Also, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates about the show, pictures of all the vegan food we find, and much more. Hey, if you want to get news about the show, you can do that by subscribing to our weekly newsletter at compassionandcucumbers.com.
And with that, it's time to sign off. You have just listened to episode 213 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, and there's nothing left to say but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion. On the podcast.
Thanks, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
Take care of each other. Bye-bye.
The end.
If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, well, you can do that by hopping on over to our Patreon page and becoming a patron. We have all the recipes from our vegan kitchen series up there, and we'll be adding some patron-only episodes in the near future. So thank you for supporting us at whatever level that you choose, and thank you again for listening to Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.